Alright, it is December 1st. You are legally allowed to watch Christmas movies now. If you started watching Christmas movies the day after Halloween, if you started these on November 1st, you belong in jail. You are a convicted felon. Go to jail. Don't come out. Don't collect $200. You're staying in there until next Christmas when you learn your lesson. Welcome to December. I'm going to be talking about a select few Christmas movies. This is actually a new release. I held off on it because it came out the day before Thanksgiving. And unless if it's a screener, I'm not watching any Christmas movies before December 1st. That's just how I roll. There's a holiday in between Halloween and Christmas, people. I've stated this before. So now the Christmas Chronicles 2 is out. I saw it. I finally watched it today, December 1st. The Christmas Chronicles 2 is the sequel to 2018's surprisingly fun Christmas movie, The Christmas Chronicles. Kurt Russell once again returns as Santa. This time, Kate and Jack embark on a perilous journey to the North Pole to help Santa save Christmas and fend off Belsnickel, a rejected elf who is trying to suck all of the life of Christmas out of the North Pole. The first Christmas Chronicles movie I really enjoyed. I thought it was a really fun movie. I thought it was a really fun Christmas movie. It was interesting to see these rules and how they were conveyed in the movie. Even though there could have been a little bit more there, it made for a really fun, entertaining ride for both kids, families, and adults. The Christmas Chronicles 2 just did not work for me, unfortunately. Oh man. I have a lot to say about the Christmas Chronicles 2. So as with most of my reviews that aren't completely negative, unless if it's totally negative, I start off with all the negatives first. But for the ones that aren't completely negative, I'm going to frame this review just like those. I'm going to start with the positives first. Kurt Russell as Santa. It's something you never knew you wanted, but the moment you see it on screen, it's something you always needed. It's perfect. He's got this warm, charming personality to play Santa, and it just works so well that when I look at Kurt Russell now, I'm going to be like, that's not just Ego the Living Planet, that is Santa, man. And what's really interesting is that the closing scene for the first one did this, but they brought in Goldie Hawn to play Santa's wife, Mrs. Claus, and it's really interesting because Goldie Hawn is married to Kurt Russell in real life, and Mrs. Claus is married to Santa in this movie. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, it just made their chemistry on screen feel more natural. I actually really like it when movies do that, when they cast real-life couples in movies, and they have to play a couple in the movie. I like that. It's a solid idea. And the setting of the movie I actually really like too. You saw the North Pole, you saw Santa's village, you saw some more locations in the North Pole that I wasn't really expecting to see, and I really dug that. It added more to the legend of the North Pole and to the legend of Santa himself. Just got you thinking about those times, about what you learned about when you were little with Santa and Christmas. All of that stuff. A lot more elves in this movie. Santa's village just looks so warm and inviting. But other than the girl that plays Kate, I forget her name. I think it's like Darby Camp, I think. Who I thought was really good in the first one and is really good in this one. That's where the positives for this movie start because, look, Chris Columbus has directed movies in the past. And he's done a very good job at directing movies in the past. The first two Harry Potter movies, the first two Home Alone movies, The Goonies. This dude is a great director, but I was just watching this movie. And I didn't even know that he had directed this movie until I looked it up on IMDb. And I just said to myself, you have got to be shitting me. This is a Chris Columbus movie? The first one felt more like a Chris Columbus movie. This one felt like the work of a director who hired a really, really inexperienced visual effects team and just rolled with the punches. Everything about the look of this movie is artificial as hell. There are literally completely CGI'd, rendered scenes. Full scenes in fully rendered CGI. I was astounded. Obviously, some of this makes sense within the context of these scenes, but then there's some scenes where I'm just thinking in my head, does this have to be all in CGI? It just felt like an easy way out to not film on a soundstage. Maybe they had to. Maybe this was filmed during the pandemic. I have no idea. Maybe it's what they had to resort to. If that's it, then it gets a pass. But I have no idea myself. So if it's not, sorry. I'm complaining about it. I get it. In a movie like this, the CGI is not going to be the greatest CGI ever. But you know what? If it's distracting for the entire movie and is a big part of what makes this movie look artificial, that is a major problem. It just seemed like the visual effects team was very inexperienced. I have no idea who Chris Columbus hired for this visual effects team. And because of how artificial this movie is, it not only has that Netflix movie look to it, there are times where I thought I was watching a Hallmark Channel movie, and that's just sad. That is bad. Literally, the closing scene of this movie, I was like, am I watching a Hallmark Channel movie right now? I just did not understand these visual choices. I never really understand these visual choices with Netflix movies anyways. They all look artificial and glossy, but this one specifically, and a lot of it has to do with that CGI. Let's talk about the villain, Belsnickel. He's played by the kid from Deadpool 2. I hated him in Deadpool 2. I certainly hated him in this. This dude's motivation is as terrible as John Travolta's character's motivation in Battlefield Earth. Basically, Belsnickel is jealous. He just wants to get noticed. I do not know what's worse. That plot or seeing my third grade math teacher naked. I also just did not like Julian Dennison's performance in this. I felt as if he was overacting a lot in this movie to try and be that over-the-top villain that was needed to play Belsnickel. It didn't work for me. As I was watching it, I noticed the dialogue was corny as hell. This script is just full of exposition. It's there to try and build this world up, but instead, all this exposition just kind of tears it down. The first 30 minutes of this movie is literally all explaining. And yes, I know in a movie you need exposition, but it gets to the point where you can only have so much. A perfect example of a movie that has little explanation is War for the Planet of the Apes. I don't even think that movie has a single scene of exposition. And if it does, there's just one. It's the scene where Woody Harrelson tells Caesar what happened to his son. That, to me, that's how you do exposition. You don't do it every 5 minutes to explain, oh, how you're building up this world. Oh, here's this light from Bethlehem that, suck it up, and I have no idea. I felt like the exposition in this movie was just an excuse to try and have a plot. To try and explain why Kate and Jack have to go to the North Pole and help Santa. Because this doesn't take place at Christmas. This takes place a few days before Christmas. So it just felt like the exposition in this movie was a huge excuse to try and justify a story and try and justify a reason why a sequel to the Christmas Chronicles was made in the first place. It's very clear that I don't enjoy this as a movie. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure if I really enjoy it as a Christmas movie. This is a very disappointing sequel to a movie that I won't even say is great, but I think is a solid and really fun Christmas movie for both kids, adults, and families with the first one. This one just seems like it appeals more to kids. I just felt that elements that appealed to adults and families was missing. And the cartoonish, artificial look of this movie, where almost every sequence has CGI, I feel is a huge reason as to why I feel like that. It just feels like there's a life that was torn out of this movie that people like me couldn't really enjoy, or families couldn't really enjoy. Only like 5 to 6 year old kids who are like, Santa! Are gonna really enjoy this movie. I'm gonna say if you watch the Christmas Chronicles 2, you're gonna enjoy it if you like stale popcorn. If they make a third one, I hope it's a lot better. Because this one was very disappointing, and I don't think it really needed to happen. It just seemed like a movie that was coming up with excuses to explain why it was happening. Just my take. Disappointing. I really like the first one. Not so much this one. So stay tuned for some more Christmas movie reviews. There'll be a select few of them from now until Christmas Day. Maybe there will be one on Christmas Day. Who knows? Stay tuned for reviews for new releases coming very soon. I'm very excited about the release slate and what I might have coming in my inbox in terms of screeners. Some exciting times. We're winding down to the end of the year. You guys are the best. Thank you for watching. My name is Alex Madden, and I'll see you at the movies somewhere.